Well, it's already October. It's the end of our 7th week in school, almost halfway through the semester. Isn't that kind of crazy? Just feels like SOS was last week, wasn't it? But as we start today, I want to invite you guys to close your eyes, okay? And I want you guys to imagine with me. And I want you guys to pretend you're an alien, okay? And you're an alien that has come to this earth, and you're walking the grounds of this earth, okay? So you're an alien, and you're a smart alien. You're not like one of those like kooky aliens that don't know anything, right? You're a smart alien, a perceptive alien, and you come to this earth, and you look at the patterns of what people are doing, and it seems like you've come to one of the most important places in the region because of all the cars around the building. And it looks like one of the most religious centers in town, actually. The parking lot is the kind of moat that separates you from regular life on the outside with this life on the inside of the building. From this massive moat of a parking lot, you and other pilgrims, other people are walking toward this sacred building. Its towering glass doors, chromed arches invite you into this welcoming space that orients new seekers. It helps the regular faithful to enter into the spirit of the space. You notice that the walls in this building have no windows. There's only windows in the ceiling, conveying a sense of verticalness, of transcendence, of openness, which shuts off the clamor from the outside and keeps all the noise on the inside very controlled. It's like time in this place has stopped. The sun is always out. You can lose yourself in the various circular and octagonal labyrinths. It's easy to get lost in contemplation as you look at all the various chapels that celebrate the different saints on each side of the walkway. Between each chapel and in the communal cloisters, you recognize celebrative banners, colors, symbols that mark the rhythmic unfolding of the holidays, of the festivals, like they're celebrating some sort of yearly calendar. Three-dimensional icons, statues, and moving images embody the good life and inspire you to willingly submit to the disciplines that promise this good life. Each chapel has a different kind of stained glass that gives their distinct depiction of the good life. Each chapel invites you to enter in, to participate in their worship, to taste and to see. But no matter which chapel you enter into, the rituals are simple, they're intuitive. An acolyte offers to shepherd you through the experience, but graciously lets you explore on your own to find surprise and joy. When the spirit of the place leads you to what you're looking for, you bring it to the altar, and the priest presides over it with a consummating transaction. You offer your sacrifice, you go out, you give, and you take, all with the priest's benediction, carrying a tangible object that confirms your participation in their version of the good life of the chapel's icons. You guys could open your eyes now. Imagination's over, right? But what were we talking about here? If we're an alien, we saw this. What is this scene? Anybody? It is the mall. Thank you, Lydia. Okay, it is the mall, and in the mall, it has all these ideas, it has all these pictures, there's all these things that try to grab us and shape us into a kind of person. Before we get going, I want to let you know that that analogy and a lot of this chapel is based off of these two books right here by James K. Smith, Desiring the Kingdom and Imagining the Kingdom. So if anything in here is attractive to you, feel free to check out those books. He's also on our website in Open Biola. Okay? But when I first read this analogy, it got me thinking, does the mall really resemble a church? And so what did I do? I went to Google, right? I just typed in mall, right? And these are some of the pictures that first came up for me, okay? This is the first outlet mall in Louisville, okay? Notice the steeple, okay? The steeple grabbing attention for the community. Notice this one. There's a steeple right in the center, okay? Notice the arches in this one. This one looks a little more Middle Eastern. This is, I think, in Dubai or something like that. But notice also the communal space in the middle, right? Churches were meant to have a communal space, and these arches are ways to enter people in. These are architectural structures, features to say, hey, come and join our community. More arches. Notice this communal space is on the outside okay? And you're asking people to come inside into the mall. More arches, kind of older. Ones on the bottom right, kind of more modern, right? We have domes. Again, no windows on the outside, only windows really up toward heaven. Even the bottom right picture, it looks like the elevators are kind of going toward heaven. Kind of gives you this celestial feel, right? Look at this one. This one is kind of like a dome. It has this huge communal space inside. I showed this to some of our chapel leaders, and they said, that reminds us of the library, right? And it's kind of, the library is kind of has these architectural features of a church too, right? You go in, and Jesus says, I am the light of the world, right? And we go, oh yeah, I want to learn more about Jesus. On the way out, it says, you are the light of the world, and we're going out with the knowledge. There's these church architectural features even in our library. In the mall, we've got Christmas trees. These pictures tell us how to celebrate Christmas. This is what Christmas is. It has nothing to do with Jesus, has nothing to do with the incarnation or coming down to earth, becoming human. It's really about the nutcracker and a giraffe and things like that, right? And this is Easter, right? This is the way that shapes our minds. This is not even in a Western country. That's Chinese, I think, right? And with that, it's like the Easter bunny. The Easter bunny looks pretty scary. And butterflies, that's what Easter is supposed to be. At least that is what our idea of what Easter becomes after a while. Well, in this mall analogy, in these pictures even, what is the good life? The good life that they're portraying to us. What is the good life that they're drawing us into? And it's some version of consumerism, isn't it? Now, let me ask you something. Did we have to conceptually understand what consumerism was? Did we have to read a book? Did we have to read an essay about how to understand and enter into consumerism? We didn't. We go and we practice. We're drawn to these things by our desires, by our loves, by our hearts, at our gut level. We go and we practice acts of consumerism, and as we do that, we're drawn into it and we form habits, and they become our dispositions. As much as we don't want to say it, we're all consumers in our society. We're captured by the sheer repetition of our bodies. Our imagination is grabbed. You know, mall people, they get something really, really deep. What they get about the human condition is that to get people to do something, to get people to act a certain way, you appeal to the imagination, the heart, the desire, their loves, the gut level. You don't have to write huge treatises and manifestos to make everyone do certain things. You get them at this level. Look how good advertisers are, right? Look at this one right here. This advertisement, what is it selling? Selling cars? It's not. It's actually selling car insurance. But what's it really selling? It's selling a relationship, right? That's me and my son. Wow, we're going to be safe, okay? Look at this one. We don't even have to tell you what this is about. They don't have to tell you about rainforests in South America being, torn down because we want to use more paper. We get the idea right away, right there, appealing to our hearts, our imaginations. Look at this one. They're selling bananas, right? It's a thumbs up. Bananas are good for you, right? I don't even know what that says. Vustu stas tamatan, right? But I get it. I know what this is about, okay? Look at this one. This is Volkswagen. They don't even need the tagline. I get the idea because, boom, they grab my imagination. They play to my desires. They play to my loves. They get me at that gut level. When I drive a car, I want to fly, okay? Look at this one. This is really cool. I think this is in LA. The paint just pours over everything and just, it's really imaginative. It's really cool. That image has stuck into my mind for a long time. Look how good other TV people are, or media people, movie people. Look at this one, the Lego movie, right? I never knew that my little Legos would become a movie, okay? But my little Legos became a movie. That's super imaginative. They play right here to our gut level, right? What about this? What's this? Look at that, right? I don't even tell you what it is, right? It's a Halo. You guys automatically have this gut level reaction, right? Halo, okay? What's this? Ninja Turtles, right? Hey, they were cool. In my day, they had big shells and stuff. Now they're like super buff, okay? What's this? Right? We don't even have to say it, right? Boom, right there. Most popular show on TV. It's not even on a regular TV channel. It's on a cable TV channel. Most popular show on TV, right there. We get that. We're talking about zombies in this show, guys, right? Again, imagination, desire, right? And what's this? Okay, so this is right there again, gut level, desires, right? Loves, imaginations, right? That's, my daughter wants to become both of them, right? So Nike, Disney, Apple, all these people, they're geniuses, right? If I were to ask you something, if I were to say Corona, what is Corona's, is that okay if I say that here? Okay. What is Corona's version of the good life? Everyone has this picture in their mind, right? You got two people on a beach, on lawn chairs, with a bottle, right? Looking at the horizon, okay? That is their version of the good life. We see it, we get that because it peels right here, and we see that, and we repeat it, and we grab that, and it becomes habits for us, okay? They capture our imaginations, we repeat it in our mind, it becomes dispositions. And after a while, it's like we choose their products, but no. They've formed our hearts a certain way. They've created these dispositions so that there's really no other choice but to choose their products. Okay? These are liturgies, guys. Advertisers, mall people, TV, movie, media people, they're creating liturgies for us so that we can enter into their version of the good life. These are cultural liturgies for us to go and do their things, their activities, their versions of the good life. Now the Bible is super prophetic here. In 1 John 2:16, it points out 3 huge ways that the world is going to create cultural liturgies. And the ways that they're going to go is, first, the lust of the flesh. Second, the lust of the eyes. Third, the pride of life. The lust of the flesh is this idea of pleasure, isn't it? This hedonistic pleasure. There's a lot of that in our society. There's a lot of cultural liturgies, a lot of things that force us, that bring us, that habituate us to this idea of hedonistic pleasure, that is my ultimate version of the good life. The lust of the eyes, that's like materialism. The more I amass, the more I get, all these kinds of things. That is my version of the good life. It's been shaped into us because of all the things around us. The pride of life, that's like self-autonomy. I can do this. I can achieve things. I have prestige. I have power. I am. I can do all these things because all of these kinds of things, TV, movies, media, they shape and form a certain version of the good life. These 3 sins here, believe it or not, we can't just flip them off just because we want to. Because these 3 sins here have been shaped, starting with our desires, our imaginations, right here at our gut level. And they've been shaped to form habits in us that predispose us to those kinds of things, to those sins even. We're getting shaped by other people's versions of the good life. Let's take a few minutes here. And I want you guys to think about a few things. So spend a few seconds with God and think about one media. Maybe it's something on social media like Yik Yak or Facebook or something like that. Maybe it's an advertisement, maybe it's a TV show. Anything you consume. Okay, think of one media, just one. What's the gut reaction to one thing that you want to think about and talk to God about? Okay? And what is their version of the good life? What is the version of the good life that they're drawing you into? What is the imagination that is being caught for you? And as it's being caught for you, what kind of habits are being formed? What kind of dispositions are being formed in you? Maybe it looks like lust of the flesh or hedonistic pleasure. Maybe it looks like lust of the eyes or materialism. Maybe it looks like pride of life or self-autonomy.
We've so far been talking about how we are formed by the things that surround us, by cultural liturgies that shape our desires, play to our imaginations, so that what culture tells us is the good life is what we'll go towards. So again, this idea of a cultural liturgy. The liturgy is something that happens over and over and over again. And in doing something over and over and over again, our habits are formed. Our desires are formed, our imaginations are formed. And like Mike said, sometimes we think we are making a choice for something, but we're not. We're actually responding out of a habit that has been formed in us when our imaginations have been captured over and over again. So let me give you an example. Up on the screen, there's an image of who? Megan Fox, yeah. Beautiful woman, right? Classic beauty. She's a representative for Avon. Word on the street is that people go see the Transformers movies because Megan Fox is in them. We think that she is a beautiful woman, absolutely. What about these women? Are these women beautiful in your mind? In their cultures, in their times, in their histories, these women are considered to be paragons of beauty. These are the women that people of these cultures, of these histories and places would hold up as standards of beauty. So how is it that our ideas of a beautiful woman seem so different? Why do I look at these images and think that Megan Fox is more beautiful than these women? It's probably because I've been exposed over and over again to a standard of beauty within American culture. I think I am choosing the most beautiful woman, but really my choice is based on being exposed over and over and again to what this culture thinks is most beautiful. So this principle, this idea that what we are exposed to over and over and over again actually has profound implications for our spiritual lives. Dallas Willard says that everything is spiritual formational. Everything we encounter forms us. We've talked a lot about how we're shaped by culture, but how does this connect with our spiritual lives? And connected to this, how do we cultivate in ourselves God's version of the good life, especially when we are predisposed, as Mike said, to the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life? Well, the book of Romans points us to an answer. Paul spends the first 11 chapters explaining the righteousness of God, that we have access to salvation through Jesus Christ, through grace, through faith. Nothing can separate us from his love. And then after salvation is offered to us, after we have received salvation from God, Paul writes in Romans 12, 1-2, how we are actually transformed over the course of our lives. Here's what he says: I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, so that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So according to Paul, worship is presenting ourselves to God. And in presenting ourselves to God, we are offering ourselves to be transformed by his Spirit. And as we are transformed, we are able to discern and do his will. So the point of worship then is not just to lose ourselves in a really great song like Oceans. Mike's title is the director of worship and formation, not just the director of worship. The point of worship, of presenting ourselves to God over and over and over again, is to shape our desires, to habituate us into loving and desiring God's version of the good life. And as we present ourselves to God over and over and over again, we are giving his Spirit room to transform us, to train us to love and desire God as the center of our good life. So how does this work exactly? Well, I really like how Pastor and Dr. Mel Lawrence puts it, that every time we present ourselves to God, one of three things, or maybe two of three things might happen. First, your mind might be captivated. You might gain some great insight into your life with God that really encourages you to keep growing and learning. When I was in college, I became a Bible major. My mind was captivated by stories in the Old Testament, and God used that to continue drawing me back to his word, to cultivate in me a love for his word. So your mind might be captivated. Second, your heart might be illuminated. You might gain a great sense of peace or joy or solace or even release in your quiet times or in times of musical worship. I remember being drawn over and over again to the Singspiration-like events at my school. My heart was warmed. I felt the peace of the Lord in those times of musical worship. He used those things to draw me back to him. But the third thing is probably what most defines my spiritual life. When my mind is not captivated, my heart is not illumined, I might find that my will is being challenged. You might come to a chapel or church service or quiet time and simply not be feeling it. You might not want to be in these places. You might be internally rebelling against it, or you may just feel nothing. And honestly, this is where the transformation happens. This is God showing you parts of your heart that he wants to change in you. If our spiritual act of worship is submission of our whole selves to God, as Paul says in Romans, then it may be that sometimes the Spirit is not drawing you to him through the intellectual high of insight or the response of heartfelt emotions, but is instead asking you to obey, to willingly be present and open, even if you're not feeling it. So 30 chapel credits per semester is a lot, twice a week. There's two ways this can be approached. What would happen if you come into chapel with an intention to be open or with an attitude of cynicism 30 times a semester, two divergent paths? Where does each path take you? How would you be formed if you intentionally present yourself to God each time, no matter if your mind is illumined or your heart is warmed or if your will is challenged? 30 units of Bible is a lot. During your time at Biola, you'll probably sit in 450 hours worth of Bible classes for the minor. That's a lot. Two ways this can be approached. What would happen if you go to each Bible class with an intention of openness or skepticism to God's Spirit? Two paths. Where does each path take you? How would you be formed if by God's Spirit you intentionally present yourself to God each time, no matter if your mind is being illumined, your heart is being warmed, or your will is being challenged? If we all were to live to 75 years old and you attend church once a week, you'll go to church 3,900 times. I'm kind of a nerd. I like to add these things up. What would happen if you attend each church service with an intention of openness to God's Spirit or with feelings of apathy? Two divergent paths. What would that mean? How would you be formed by God's Spirit if you intentionally present yourself to God all 3,900 times, no matter if your mind is illumined, your heart is warmed, or your will is being challenged? Now, I want to be careful with this because I don't want to make you feel guilty. What I hope you'll see is that there is opportunity and space provided for you right now to habituate your desires, to have your imagination be formed, to have your will be transformed by God's Spirit towards his version of the good life. So remember those images of beauty. Sometimes we think we are making a choice about something, but we're not. We're actually acting out of a habit that has been formed in us by repeated action or exposure. As we repeatedly, intentionally open our hearts to God, no matter what we feel or think in the moment, we are being formed, slowly but surely, to desire the things of God, to desire his version of the good life. Maybe your felt response to presenting yourself to God this morning has been to have your heart enlivened in an emotional response. Maybe your mind has been illumined by new insight, or maybe your will is being challenged. Maybe you have the desire to desire God, but you're not feeling it. No matter your felt response in this moment, the invitation is the same: to come to him wholly and completely with the intention to offer yourself to him as a living sacrifice now, and to continue presenting yourself over and over and over and over again. And in so doing, you're allowing the Spirit to transform you.
We hope you enjoyed this message. Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Learn more at biola.edu.